Thank you for joining. So we'll begin with just a short explanation of what's going on with volunteer trip that's coming up. So how many people here are actually signed up already to go on one of the volunteer trips this year?
Woo!
Cool, super. We have probably about 15 to 20 people going on each trip. So in August and also in November. And then we'll be having some people from Ecuador joining us as well, some students out there, some professors out there, as well as halfway through the trip, we're going to have professors from here and students from here joining us as well. So it should be a lot of fun. It'll be quite cool. And this is really just to see if you have any questions. But before that, we'll just go really quickly through a short presentation of some of the frequently asked questions that we get. And then whatever else is left will be more of a discussion. It should be more of a discussion. So let me just set up this, and then we'll just need some help for someone to click through the presentations. Super. Okay. Actually, we can go to the next one already. So this is really just to talk about what we'll be doing in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. You can just change.
So we'll be spending 3 weeks in the jungle together. It'll be quite fun. It's amazing, actually. It's the trip of a lifetime every time I go, and I've gone a few times. So it's well worth it. Welcome, by the way.
Hi.
Do you both speak English?
Yes.
Okay. So, it's 3 weeks there. We have some work arranged already. That we'll be engaged in together, as well as a lot of fun and hiking in the rainforest and seeing some of the other sites. Most of that gets determined when we get there exactly. It depends on what kind of projects, but at the moment it's looking like we'll be doing reforestation a little bit, so we'll be planting a lot of trees in one area. We're going to be taking one of the plots of land that we have bought recently and doing irrigation. So fixing it because it's a swamp right now. They cut all the trees and it turns into a swamp. This is what happens when you cut down the rainforest. So we'll be fixing that a little bit, and we're going to be putting up some fences as well because our neighbors' cows keep coming into our property and eating all our plants, and eating the rest of the rainforest as well, which is a big problem, but we're going to do what we can to kind of correct it a little bit within our power. So that's sort of the work side, the fun side, But most people are very curious what to bring. You'll kind of notice in the picture, they're wearing hats and like coats. It's colder than one might expect. So bring warm clothes.
I would say that it depends on when you go there.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's different. The humidity is the same throughout all the year. It's always wet. But I guess if this group goes in the winter time / springtime, it should be better than in the summertime.
Yeah, it also changes, and it's changing. Okay. So like the wet season used to be more defined. And in the last 2 years, when we've gone and talked to the locals and asked them, hey, when is the wet season? We get a different answer from every person. And there are 2 reasons for this. It's first, there are a lot of microclimates in Ecuador. You can go 30 minutes away and you have completely different climate, completely different weather. It's really hot, it's really wet, whatever. And the other reason is climate change, and that's the big one. Or better said, climate crisis. And you see it at the extremes of our world already. Well, you see it everywhere already, but you see it really strong in the extremes of our world. And out there, you're seeing it where people are saying it used to be like this for the last 20 years, and now it's completely changed, and we cannot rely on the weather anymore. So this is the reality of it. So it does change a little bit by the time of year, but we're also very high up. So we're at about 1,400 meters, which means it's quite cold at night. During the day, it can get quite warm. And okay, it's not cold by like Czech standards, it's cold, no. But if we just go in t-shirts and shorts, you're going to be cold. So bring more than that. We can go to the next slide. So we have on our website a different list. This list will be on the website soon, whenever I get to it. And it's just items that we really recommend people to bring. So we're going to be hiking a lot, and also working, some in the garden or in the rainforest itself. So bring some pants that are suitable for that. We do recommend pants, but if you're comfortable in shorts, you can go in shorts. But there are like some trees with very long spikes and things that can scratch you, so sometimes it's more comfortable with pants. As well as a mixture. You want short sleeve shirts, you want long sleeve shirts. Because as I said, it varies now. I really recommend thermals, like a thermal underwear for the top. You all know what this is? It's really nice at night to have this, because really at night it gets cold. And yeah, I can't stress it enough, because every trip we've done, we have people coming and they're freezing. And they're like, I thought I was going to the jungle. We're like, yeah, you did. No, but it's cold at times. It's also really hot at times. So the temperature will vary between 10 degrees or even lower at night sometimes, all the way up to 25 degrees during the day. And if we go to the valley, it can even be 30 degrees. So there's this huge range. And that's just part of it, especially if you're planning on traveling through Ecuador after or before the trip. It can vary a lot, so that maybe you need swimsuit or like beach clothes if you're going to the coast, and then in the jungle you'll need something a little warm. Swimsuit is nice. We have the opportunity to jump in the rivers and jump in the waterfall and enjoy that. Hat is good for the sun sometimes, especially if you're working outdoors. Hiking socks. Something comfortable to walk around if we're not in the jungle. In the jungle, we'll have boots. So there's some boots that you can see actually just outside. They're these big rubber boots that go quite high. If you're walking in the jungle, either bring really these big rubber boots. We have lots of them on the property that we can lend out, and if we're missing any, we can buy some more. So we can get that when we're there. You don't need to worry about it. But if you have your own, you can bring your own. They're just heavy now, and then bulky, so maybe better just use ours. Either walk with these or walk barefoot, although I would probably recommend if you're not so used to the jungle in the beginning, walk with these big heavy boots. We do have an area where we walk barefoot in the jungle. We'll do this together. And it's right behind the house. It's really beautiful, and you can experience what the land is like there. It's very different than walking in the forest section. You're going to need some work gloves, and it's a rainforest, so it's raining every day. So you're going to want a heavy poncho. And not this light, thin plastic that we often can get here easily. We recommend this that'll rip and die in a day. I guarantee you it's happened many times. So you want these really heavy ones. We have some there, and it's easy to buy them there. It's like $5 or $7. Many people are buying it and leaving it, so we have some extras, although I don't know, sometimes we disappear too, so we don't have extras. I always just buy one when I go, and then it's donated to the community net, and they can use it for future trips. In terms of stuff, you're going to want a sleeping bag. Most likely you're going to want a mat. We have some beds with mattresses. It depends on how big our group is at the end of the day, if everyone can actually sleep on a bed. But we have other mats available as well that can be comfortable. So the mat is optional, but definitely a sleeping bag. And as I said, it gets cold at night. So if you get a sleeping bag that's rated even down to 0, you're going to be super comfortable. If it's only rated to 10, then you might be a little chilly. We don't use electricity at night, so you're going to want a headlamp. We have electricity during the day. It's available at night if we really need it, but we strongly encourage everyone not to use it. In fact, we enforce that you don't use it after 7 p.m. So we prepare dinner, and then we turn off all the lights, we have candles, and we just enjoy nature as it is. And it's really magical this way. We've always done it this way, and everyone's really enjoyed it. And we'll talk more about the reasons why and things like that when we're out there, but just for now, you can know that you're going to need a headlamp to get around at night, to go to the bathroom, to do all these things later at night. Bring a reusable water bottle. It's just common sense for hiking in general. Also the plugs are different. So they're not this European style plug with the 2 round ones. It's the US style one with the flat ones now. So bring in an adapter if you can find it. Power banks are good. Like if you're going to be listening to music or doing whatever on your phone on the bus rides, the buses can take 6 hours each way, 6 to 8 hours. So they're useful. If you don't want to, of course, you don't need them. Bug repellent is quite good. Natural is better. Definitely nothing with DEET, please. DEET is a common chemical that's used in a lot of the bug spray. And it gets in the water, it stays in the water, and it destroys the natural life. So we really don't, we have extras so people can forget, but it's good to bring your own. Same with like toiletries, soap, toothpaste, whatever, it's gonna end up in the, what do you call it, this like cistern where it collects water to treat it a little bit, but eventually it can go into the land as well, so there's something that's a little bit more eco-friendly if you can find it. Bring your own medication, whatever you might need. This includes stuff like in case you're getting diarrhea or in case you're allergic to something and you need like something for that, antihistamines or something like this, as well as anti-itch. If you get, you're going to get bug bites. Everyone gets a lot of bug bites. So something to help with the itching. We eat a vegan diet out there. So if you're not used to it, there are options to supplement with eggs and things, but also I recommend personally that you bring B12. It's a necessary vitamin that we all need. And chances are high that you're not getting enough anyways with an omnivore diet, so it's good to bring your own. Towels, first aid kit. This is more optional, but if you have one, then it's not a bad idea to bring it. We have one on the property, of course. If you have waterproof bags, then I recommend those too. These like bags that you use for rafting and things like this, you know, just to store things. It's super wet there, it's super humid. So if you have anything that you really need to keep dry, you're going to need a waterproof bag. And then you want a backpack or something for when we go hiking in the rainforest. Some people appreciate a mosquito net for when you sleep. We normally don't have that many mosquitoes because it's quite cold. But sometimes there are, and so if you want one, you can bring one. If you don't, no worries. It's not like you're gonna miss out. It depends on the mosquitoes. Any questions on like what to bring, or curious about like some item that you're thinking of? Or?
I'm just wondering if they've got feather sleeping bags, which are not super suitable for that environment.
Okay.
Do you have experience with that?
No one's brought the feather one. Things don't dry out so easy. Okay.
Jako myslíš duchnu?
Ne, pressure is
Jako pečuji spod
Já myslím, že chci vzít od babičky.
You're welcome to try it, but things do get really, like, it's really high humidity. So nothing dries, and once it gets wet, it kind of stays wet. It dries maybe in a few days. Like sometimes if we have things that we need to dry, we throw them over the fire. Like we hang them over the fire. Yeah, things don't dry. So it's your decision. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but if that's what you have, that's what you have.
Where can I get the waterproof bags and the mosquito net? It's like somewhere like Decathlon or
Yeah,
something.
Decathlon will have it. Sporting stores will have
Like
it.
waterproof bags, like it's not like this, like huge, like kind of.
No, they can be small as well. I should have brought mine. They're only like they're different sizes,
Okay.
and you know the top you roll down and then clip,
Okay.
and then it stays really watertight. I know it's used a lot in rafting, other water sports. I basically take one or two, and I put my electronics in it. It's not critical. It's not, you know, like you're gonna be okay if you don't have a waterproof bag. Yeah? Like it's not something that you need. Like more or less everything here is, except for the headlamp and the sleeping bag, and I mean bring toiletries, right? Like wash and be clean. Everything else other than towel, like everything else is more or less optional, right? Like, but they help. But yeah, waterproof bag is low on the list. If you can't find it, don't worry about it. You can get them at sporting goods stores. Decathlon has them for sure. Other ones, if you support a local one, I don't know. Any other questions or curious? No? So getting there. We're in the jungle. The airport is on the opposite side of the country. We recommend you're flying into Guayaquil. Going in through Quito is an option, but it's a lot longer. You're adding about 3 hours to your trip. And I don't think it's cheaper. In fact, I think oftentimes it's more expensive. It depends though. It's a lot more complicated than Quito. It's a lot more annoying as well. But basically, you'll come into Guayaquil, land at the airport, and take a taxi to this, which is this huge bus terminal. It's absolutely massive. Yeah.
One thing, because of the taxis over there, by the airport, it's better to check them out because sometimes they tell you they will bring you into bus station, but you pay like $20 for like 2 minutes ride.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's a good idea to recommend taxi drivers there because it's quite close.
It is close, so if you're comfortable walking, you can walk it. And if you need directions on how to walk there, you can ask the information center in the
or
airport.
maybe just be able to say to taxi driver that you're not gonna pay this money because it's really.
They do try, like normally the ones from the taxi, from the airport, I think are controlled. They should tell you before, like, hey, how much. Yeah, I mean, I speak Spanish, so it's a lot easier for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't experienced that, but I know that it definitely can happen. The best thing in this case I would recommend is confirm with them how much it will be before you step in the cab.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much is it to go to the bus station, and it should be like $3, $3. If it's $5, like okay, whatever. But like anything more than that, no. So just to be aware, like, and hopefully people can manage to travel in a group. We'll talk about that later. But whatever help you need at the airport, you can ask at the information center. They all speak English there, and they can help you out with that and direct you. The first time I went to Ecuador, I walked as well to the bus terminal. It's not so far. But on the other hand, maybe you're coming from a like 15-hour flight or something, and like it's $2-3 to get there by cab. So it's easy. But yeah.
Like also with the people, with the locals, they also speak English or
No.
No. Some might. More the like younger generation that is educated, which is not so much of a population, right? Like this is it's a underdeveloped part of the world in the sense that it's very poor. But a lot of people in the younger generation are realizing that they need English to get better jobs, and also Ecuador is based a lot on tourism. So it's coming, but not so much, especially where we're going to be and like the routes that we're taking, not so much. Cuenca, yes, a little bit. Yeah, this bus station is huge, by the way, so it's a little daunting when you first get there. It's a 3-story complex that's like a giant mall as well as a bunch of buses. When you get in, you're just going to look for signs for Cuenca. And there are often going to be like these people coming up to you and asking you a bunch of stuff. They're asking you where you want to go. So if you just tell them Cuenca, they will guide you to a bus that goes to Cuenca. I don't know why they do this, to be honest, because they don't ask for money either, but they're there and they're helping people get to the right place. Maybe they're employees.
It depends on how white you are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, these things I don't know.
If you're really white, they go to you quite often.
Ah, cool. Yeah, and with the backpack, they will go to you quite a bit as well because they know that you're probably lost. It's not so hard though. It's very chaotic when you get in, but it's manageable. It's doable. And if you have problems on the way, well, it's more difficult to get in touch. But like myself or Roman, our friend who started Bosque Medicinal, he's already going to be on the ground. Radim, as well as his group. Is anyone here going with Radim early? You are? A few people. So then you guys have no problem. he will take care of the headache. But there will be people on the ground already. We will start a group after this shortly for the upcoming trip, and for each trip we have like a WhatsApp group or Facebook group to communicate, and we can be in touch this way as well. So you're not alone in trying to find out how to get there, but it's a little daunting at first. But we can go to the next slide. This is what you're going to want to do. You land up here in Guayaquil. You take a short taxi or hike to the bus terminal. You take the bus to Cuenca, and then from Cuenca you take another bus to Guadalquivir. And this is where the rainforest is. And this is the border to Peru. So this is really opposite side of the country. No? Like here's the coast, here's the border, and that's where we're going. By car, it's apparently a 7-hour trip. By bus, it is an 8 or 9 hour trip. Sometimes it's 7 hours. You'll see the buses are interesting. They're fine. Some are super comfortable, some are less comfortable. I should mention bring earplugs. Yeah. So you're gonna need earplugs. I'll have to add that to the list. You're gonna need earplugs for the house because it's a wooden house. So the moment anyone steps anywhere, we will all hear it. Or you get used to it. I normally just get used to it. And more so for the buses. The buses they're intense. They're very comfortable, but they're playing movies all the time. And they're playing really loud movies, often very violent movies, from the 80s and 90s mostly, and they're the B movies. These are movies that maybe did not make it to the theaters, but and then they're dubbed into Spanish. I really don't like that part of it. So bring earplugs, you're gonna really appreciate that on the buses, I promise you. But the bus otherwise is super simple. You get on the bus, they'll, if you need to use a bathroom or something, you have to tell the driver. But they stop sometimes during the day, they stop for lunch sometimes, which is why the time varies. Sometimes you just randomly stop and you're taking a break for an hour. And eventually you'll get to Cuenca. So at the Cuenca bus station, it's a lot easier, it's a lot smaller. And Cuenca's a lot nicer of a city in general. From there, if it's already too late to take another bus or you want to rest, we have friends that are running a hostel there. And so we can arrange that you spend the night there. It's about $12, I think, $12 or $15, something in this range. They speak English, they're super helpful. They are good friends of the project, good friends of us in general, so they will take care of you, they know what to do. And they all speak English now. And it's quick from the terminal. It's also a short taxi ride. And that's like maybe $3 or $5. This one I don't recommend walking unless you really still have a lot of energy after your trip. But probably you'll end up overnighting there, maybe not. And then it's just another bus to Guadalquivir. And then in Guadalquivir we will meet you. And we will meet you either at the bus terminal or close to the bus terminal, or if you don't see anyone that sticks out of the crowd, like myself or Rowan or another Czech person, then there's a hostel called El Paraíso. It's run by more friends of ours, and you can just go there. It's very close to the bus terminal. And we'll post a map later on how to get there from the bus terminal. But it's 2 blocks away. And Guadalquivir is a very small town. So it's super nice. It's really fun. On the weekend, there's like a whole party going on every weekend. Because the market's open and people are coming in from the surrounding area. So we'll do all our shopping there. We'll do our laundry there. It'll be the closest thing to civilization that we have. But we're another half hour away from there by taxi. So once you get Guadalquivir, we'll get everyone together, we'll arrange the taxis, and we'll go to the Rocío. And then we'll be at the property. You can get to the property directly by taxi. Except we are already in the rainforest. Surrounding the property is rainforest. And then it's a 15 to 20 minute hike down the hill to get into a much deeper part of the rainforest. It's really beautiful.
How much are the buses?
Good question. Like $4 to $8.
And you can just you don't need to book it in advance.
No. You need your passport when you're getting the bus tickets. Just and yeah, I think they're like $4 to $8.
So just buy it in a bus.
So when in these terminals, they have a bunch of little counters, and you go to the counter for the right, company, I guess, and you buy your ticket there. Sometimes you need like small change to get into the bus part because it's gated, and there's a gate that you have to put money into and get through. I think that's not the case. That's not the case. But that is the case in Cuenca. So if you don't have any small change, you can ask the guy to break a bill for you. Like when you're buying your ticket, I'll give you change because it's not like $8, no, it's like $7.60 or something weird. So they give you change, I think. And there's a machine to break change right next to the gates. So you can put in a dollar and out will come dimes and quarters, and you can use that to get through. Yeah, so that is how to get there. So we also get often asked a little bit about what the situation is there, safe food, right? It's the rainforest. We have no control of it. There are a lot of dangerous animals, and often none of it wants to kill you. None of it. All of it wants to survive, and all of it will take any movement of yours or action of yours that is going to touch it or to interact with it as a threat to their survival. So you can see where this leads, that they will then react in kind. Our friend Adrian here is holding a tiny snake. You can see his hand. The snake was this, and like this long. We were walking in the rainforest with all these kids, 20 little Shuat kids, it was super cool. And they were running all over the rainforest and we're hiking in big boots, barefoot. And just were hiking along, and all of a sudden, this is all behind us, around some our guy, our friend. And he's like, hey, what did we have? And they were like, yeah, it's a snake. He's like, it's a snake. And he picked it up, like this. And he's explaining to us, this is a, I forget which kind of snake it was, whatever it is maybe. But it's incredibly poisonous. If it bites you, it will kill you. And we hiked on the same path. We didn't even notice it. We didn't see it. Didn't saw it in the rainforest. That can happen. So, right, like that's the message here is like pay attention. Be alert as much as you can. Don't step on snakes. Don't touch things. Like if you can help it, you'll learn what it means. But be aware, right? Like you're responsible for yourself at the end of the day. Of course, we're there to help, and we're there to guide, and there to be you, and give various things. But at the end of the day, we're all for our own safety. Means just pay attention. That's all. And it doesn't have to be so dangerous and big as a snake. It can be something as simple as saying, if you're hiking, you don't notice, you can trip easy because the ground is different. It's a huge layer of rock and dying material, so sometimes there are holes that open up. And the 5 people you didn't find out you do. Bugs. So there are snakes, there are spiders, there are all sorts of flying insects. People are afraid of these things, and they come over with this fear. And we've had people that come with with this fear, and they often people without them. We had volunteers come, and they were afraid of spiders. And by the end of the trip, there's like we find giant trenches, and I'm like, Eric, come here, look at this spider. So
It's gonna be me.
yeah, so we have
I think the real tool there. Yeah.
super nice. We don't have so many though. Like the lower, it's not like the lower Amazon. So the lower Amazon is a lot hotter, and it has a lot more. This is hotter and even more humid. I don't know about humid, but because it's a lot hotter, there are a lot more insects down below. So I don't have as many. Like in Peru, especially lower, you get these big tarantulas, and they live like 20 years, so they're really cool. But we don't have those. Sometimes they're there, but like I've never seen a big one. I've seen one that was like this. It was really cool. It was blue. Beautiful. But yeah, so I don't know. Like you go to the next slide. Scorpions. This is the group of volunteers for which picked up the scorpion. It was small, it was like this, like you can see like it's highly magnified here now. But they're around. We've seen a scorpion come to the front, like into the house itself. We had a black one this big that came into the property at night.
Yeah.
They're there. Most of them will be a pain to me. If you see anything red in the rainforest, it's probably poisonous, toxic, and might please just avoid it. So if you see a red one, don't like get very near it. But I mean, like I bring it up just to let people know that they're there. We've never had problems with them. So yeah, is anyone worried about the bugs? About the animals? Okay. We as well sometimes. Last time we had monkeys come on the roof. I didn't actually, but our friend did. They came at night. We've had other animals that we see. We've seen monkeys while hiking before. It's rare to see monkeys. But so like you created my memory of this discussion. We have camera traps up so we can see more easily a little bit of what else is sharing the space with us. So we'll go at one point at the camera traps and we can see the video. There are river dogs, which we helped officially discover for science, I guess, is the way to put it. Like locals knew they existed, and it's not a new species or anything, but we managed to get video evidence that they live in part of the rainforest. Similar to the black jaguardini, which is a little jaguar, and a totally black one. And this is super rare. This was not known to live in the entire western part of the Amazon. We have a video of it near one of the rainforests that we connected. They're bears or other things. So we'll see what we see. Because every time we come out, something new. I'm excited, so it's really fun. Any questions about the animals or the creatures? Okay, cool. If you up about travel recommendations for Ecuador, some places recommend vaccine for yellow fever. Yellow fever is a horrible disease, you definitely don't get it. Luckily, it doesn't exist in part of the rainforest. More in the lower end, it's more north, and it's not been noticed in this part of the rainforest where we're at. So for those cities, it's not there. It's in certain pockets of rainforest. So you don't need to worry about that unless you're concerned. Then get it. Yeah. In terms of crime and safety, it's a relatively safe place for a country that is as poor as it is. That being said, it's a poor country and there's crime of opportunity. So big part of that is maybe a problem in some of the big cities. On the buses, watch your seats. There are many reports of travelers just putting their bag up and then falling asleep. When they wake up, the bag is no longer there. Also down below, like people take it. I've never had that happen. I've never seen it happen. I've just heard stories about it, and it's when you're not paying attention, these things happen. So similar to the rainforest, just if you're traveling to stay, it's the same. Like maybe it's not an example, but like these things happen, and so just be careful with it. Guayaquil and the big cities are not safe. Guayaquil itself, I don't really recommend walking around. I've been recommended not to by our local friends as well. People might try and mug you with like a knife and things, but that's very rare. I think that's probably not going to happen. But I have to give this warning because I've been given this warning by our local friends. Cuenca is pretty safe, and where we're at is completely safe. We're in the town. There's no worries where we're at. And then of course we're living in the rainforest. There's no one else but ourselves there, so we bring whatever nature you bring. And in terms of COVID, which of course is a concern for our world at this point, I actually don't know what the regulations are at this given moment, but I believe they require masks on the bus. The case count is not very high at the moment, so it should be fine. We are in the jungle pretty far from everyone else, so that's good. I cannot say, for certain, but overall it should be fine. If anyone is very concerned about these things, of course, we can bring tests and try to isolate, but it should be fine. I would not really worry, unless we cure ourselves quickly, so that's a different story. Any questions about safety or COVID?
Maybe about COVID, when we'll be coming back, are we going to need a test before the flight?
Yes.
And And will there be an opportunity for that?
Yes.
Just, it needs to be taken in advance.
Yeah, we need, so you need a test on the way in. So you need either a test 3 days prior or a vaccine, proof of vaccine or proof of antibodies. And on the way out, you need the same thing. So depending on where you're flying through, it'll be by those regulations. So a lot of the flights, for example, go through Amsterdam. They are fairly stringent, but when we flew out, they changed it, and it's changing all the time, the exact regulations, although less than last time we were there, they changed it like the day before we left, but it was in our favor, so it was okay. There's a testing center though at the airport. So if you go, you can just plan like some time before to get tested and then check in.
And it's for free or?
I think it's like, I don't actually know. It's 50 to 100 US. It's not as cheap as here, unfortunately. It's somewhat expensive. But it's, and maybe the prices have dropped. It's been 6 months since I've been there, and the prices here have dropped in the last 6 months. But between 50 and 100, maybe, most likely. While Ecuador in general is very, very cheap, the airport is like stepping back into a wealthy country because travel out there is basically for the wealthy class. So the second you get back into the airport, all the prices are like here in Europe. Like you go for food normally, a meal will be like $2 to $5 elsewhere in Ecuador, and you go into the airport and it's, you know, all of a sudden $12 or $15 for the same thing. So the testing is also expensive. But yeah, it's good plan that. Yeah, it's a good question.
So speaking about the money, how much do you recommend to take with total?
So the $700 covers everything while you're with us. So the moment that you're in Guadalquivir to the moment that you leave Guadalquivir, it's all covered by us. If you want snacks or whatever, we go buy them. All the food is covered, all the activities are covered. Of course, the staying at the property as well, we pay something to Bosque Medicinal to stay there. This is also covered. Guides and things like this, whatever we were buying, it's all taken care of. So technically, you wouldn't need that much. But if you're planning travel outside of the volunteer trip itself, then you would need some extra money. To get to our property, you would probably need, let's say $20 tops. This is extra that you would need for like food and things like this along the way, and on the way back, like the same amount. It's too much either. Get by with 20 total round trip. Extra food along the way, $2 to $5 per meal. So expenses in general are going to be relatively cheap. If you're planning travel outside of our trip, you can figure on the cheaper side of things between around like $10 to $15 a night for most hotels of like fine quality. Of course, it goes up. You can stay at fancier places too. And yeah, in the city, like Cuenca itself, like things are a little bit more expensive, but not by much. So there you can count on maybe a meal being like $7 or maybe even 10 if you go to a fancier place. So, you know, it depends how much travel you're going to do outside of it. The other thing is, of course, there's a lot of cool stuff there. So if you want to bring back souvenirs, you want to bring back other items like jewelry, there's some cool ponchos, there's some cool tapestries, there's, I mean, that's what I'm drawn to. There's incense, there's t-shirts. I mean, not this one you can buy here. Yeah, so if you want souvenirs, then it depends how much you want to spend. We will probably, I don't know if we'll have time. Depending on who's going to be going where after the trip, there's a place just outside of Cuenca that sells these beautiful, they're called macanas. And they're like a shawl or scarf, some are quite big, and they're traditionally used for weddings. So the bride would have this done and done by hand. It's all done by hand from the moment that they take the fibers from the cactus plant. They beat the fibers, they turn it into thread, they dye this thread, they put the thread together, all by hand, woven by hand, and then they knot it in these intricate ways by hand. These are really, really beautiful. They're really cool. And it's totally I can find that anywhere else. Those go for like $50 to $100, more on the 50 to 70 range. Ponchos and things like that. Elsewhere, if you're getting one that's made out of alpaca wool or llama wool, they can also be about $50 to $70, maybe even 30 sometimes. But then they're mixing in more sheep wool. Cotton ponchos and things like that are going for about 20. Jewelry is like 5 to 20, 25. Sometimes there are some beaded items that they make. These can be so small bracelets like this one are probably $5 to $7. They're more elaborate like necklaces that are made by hand. They're gorgeous, and those can go up to $50 or more. What else have you want to buy? Incense is cheap. You can buy a bag of incense for like $5 with like copal and things like this. They're bowls and other cool things. Depends on what you want to buy. But a couple hundred. If you can afford it, if you can. No worries. There's also stuff you can get for much cheaper. There's an area nearby Cuenca that also does silver. They're known for, they found silver in a mine near there. And it's one of the few places where they turn this into a good opportunity for the local people. So they do this very intricate woven filigree kind of silver, and you can get it for really cheap, relatively speaking, for silver. Stuff's kind of cool. Yeah. Couple hundred more. I personally am normally spending, although it changes since now I've bought enough of my stuff that I've been enchanted by, but I probably normally spend an extra $200 or $300. I buy a lot of like cool stuff out there now. And then we also do shopping for forest things. So maybe you might come to some of our other events and we're selling a lot of these goods at a large markup because we're bringing them back by hand, and all the money, as you know, goes to the rainforest. I mean, Petra and myself, we take nothing out of it. None of us do. Johnny doesn't take any money out. So all the money that we're making goes to the rainforest. So that's what we do as well. So there will probably be a big shopping trip as well for those that want to join me. Because I'll buy a bunch of stuff to bring back here and sell to other people. Any other questions?
What about vegetarian food?
Yeah, so all the food while we're there is going to be vegan. We will probably have eggs on the property for those that want as well. While traveling, it's a little tricky. So outside of, like in the normal towns, at the normal bus stops and things, there's an upside and there's a downside. Basically, at most restaurants, you can find some vegan options and vegetarian options. The downside is it's the same option at every single restaurant. So there is rice and beans, more or less. And sometimes there are cheese soups. I'm vegan, so I've never tried a cheese soup. It's doable. I mean, I've done it many times, like wandering around Ecuador. It's fine. It's actually quite tasty. You just kind of get tired of it after having the same meal every time that you go everywhere. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner was rice and beans. And yuca's super nice. Yuca's a big fruit. And you can fry it, you can grill it. It tastes like potato, but split potatoes. But while we're there, I'll be cooking for the most part and with some help. And we'll make a lot of really good vegan food. It's good that you brought up food actually. So sometimes people have a problem with this as well. Maybe you're not used to eating vegetarian or vegan. And food is something very kind of visceral. It's something very deep inside us, like what we eat, how we respond to it, because it's tied to our survival. So people can get a little bit antsy about this. So if you have concerns about this, just see me and talk to me about that directly while we're there. Or now. I mean, if you have other questions about it, of course, voice them now. But also, while we're on the trip, just let us know if you need something else. We can make arrangements, yeah. But we will have an interesting diet while we're out there. It's going to be vegan. It will be low salt and no sugar. It's not that we ban them, but like we will not be providing them. There are so many delicious fruit stuff. So the upside is that there's this huge amount of wonderful fruit that is so much fun to introduce to people because it's so cool, it's so different. It's delicious, it's really good. So you don't need sugar because you can get it from fruits. And it's also a chance for us to disconnect from some of the things that tie us to our lives here. This is like an unspoken part of our trip, is this opportunity to rediscover a lot about yourself as well as the rainforest. And part of that is, just being away from civilization, being away from your life here, whatever that means, right? Like, in the sense that, yeah, we have Wi-Fi, but we discourage its use, and we turn it off after a certain point in time. We have electricity, but we discourage its use, and we turn it off after a certain point in time. Of course, we could buy things like eggs, cheese, and things like this in the market, but, try a vegan diet for a bit, just see how you like it. And if you don't, it's fine, right? No problem with that. Obviously, we really discourage eating beef because cows are destroying the rainforest, quite literally. Like, we've had this problem directly as well. Like, that's why I mentioned earlier, one of our projects is going to be to put up fences because our neighbor refuses to. The local government doesn't really take action, and the cows just wander from her property onto the other properties. And we had been donated 100 Wayusa trees, and we planted them in one of our volunteer trips in this part of the rainforest so that these Wayusa trees could flourish. And 80 of them were eaten by cows, and 20 of them were heavily damaged. So, and we'll have the opportunity to be there to see what happens to these cows, right? What happens to the rainforest when there's cattle being raised. So we really discourage that. But if you have problems with whatever in terms of diet, then we can make arrangements. Any other questions or concerns or things you want to share? Cool. Oh, that's so much better. The light is giving me a headache. Yeah, so it's really a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing all of you out there. Who's coming and when they're coming, but these are really beautiful trips. I don't know even how to put it in words. I talk a lot. Something special, something magic, really magic out there. I love the opportunity to learn about the rainforest, about the customs and the cultures of the rainforest, the people of the rainforest, the stories that they tell, and then you can develop your own personal relationship with it. I think there is something fantastic about being there, and that's something that Petra has done, I've done, where you go and you really fall in love with this place. It's just something really special in our world, and we don't have much of it left at this point. So we really appreciate you coming and helping us to just take care of the environment.
And what about using cell phone in Ecuador? Do I need some special SIM card?
You would need a new chip for that. So you can get the chips. There are tourist ones that they sell, which are fine. They work.
You can buy also in bus stations, so you don't have to go to the town.
Yeah, exactly. So in the bus station, you'll see it. There are these little tiny booths that are set up with all the advertisements about chips. You can go and ask for a chip. And then there are prepaid cards. Most of them are all prepaid cards. So you buy the card, you put a little bit of money into it. You probably won't need to spend more than $5 while we're there in terms of the top up. I forget how much a chip costs. Also, like $10 maybe at most, $5, and it comes with some money on it. While we're at the property, there's no signal. So you can also get by with basically no chip if you want it. Depends on how much you're going to travel outside, like outside of our arranged trip. Yeah, it's doable. I normally pick up a chip when I go, but I'm also doing more, like calling people and things like this one. At the property, there's no phone coverage. To get phone coverage, it's a 20-minute hike up the hill. But there is Wi-Fi. So, if you need to contact your parents or your loved ones here or friends or whatever, it's possible. you know, as I said, we discourage its use, but we don't limit it. Of course, everyone has these obligations and needs to stay in touch with loved ones. So it's there. You can use it Wi-Fi for, you know, WhatsApp or even voice calls through the internet and things like this. Awesome. Anyone else? Okay, cool. Yeah, well then, thank you for coming out.
Maybe some working stuff like gloves and stuff like that. Is there something to borrow, or do we have to take?
I recommend bringing your own gloves. Anything you're missing, gloves and work stuff, we can buy there. Warm clothes you can't buy there so much, especially if you're taller. People there are short. If anyone has really big feet as well, it's a weird thing to bring up, but our friend out there, I think he has size 48 or something. We have to buy him boots here. They don't even carry it. So, the work gloves, yeah, just bring a pair from here. It's just mostly for working in the dirt and maybe moving some stuff. But otherwise, everything else will be more or less on site. If you get cold, the quality blankets and things that they sell there is not very good. It's all synthetics and it doesn't really keep you warm. So really bring like some thermals. You don't need thermal bottoms, but something for the top just to stay a little warmer. And like a hoodie or something, some warm clothes that you can layer. That's quite important. And unfortunately, the town that we're at doesn't really sell ponchos and things. Like these warm Andean ponchos. The ponchos are actually not from the rainforest, they're from the Andes, the mountains. So those are more in the towns. And so if you stop in Cuenca, you can get one on your way if you wanted to. Like they're really warm, but yeah.
Maybe you can share something about the program, about going to how many days you're gonna be, or we're gonna be in the jungle, then how many days in the Shuar community. How it's gonna be this time?
We don't know. I know. It's so we'll be living almost all the time in our property in the jungle. We will probably have an opportunity to visit a Shuar friend and stay at his property 1 or 2 days. It's basically going to be, the overall schedule is more or less 6 days of working, let's say. Some of the work is just taken in the rainforest, so it's pretty fun. And 1 or 2 days rest. And on these rest days, we'll do some other fun activity. So we will visit a Shuar village, most likely, it depends on how the situation is, but there's one that's quite nearby us, and we'll go visit them and say hi to the kids as well. But the students always come to greet us. If you have something that you would like to gift to young students or even high schoolers, it would be very much appreciated by them. They basically need everything. Last time I went, we brought like notebooks and pencils. They need everything because they get minimal support from the government. It's not enough, right? And the schools are the hub of all the Shuar villages. It's because this is where the government money comes, so they can build the school up a little bit, and all the kids are using it. So when we visit, we normally talk to the headmaster, who's also kind of managing the village a little. Not always the case, but often. So we'll visit at least one Shuar village. We might stay with a Shuar friend, and just stay at his property to go down from the rainforest one day where it's nice and warm. We would probably take some hikes in a neighboring valley to see some caves. There's some easy to get to caves that we can go visit. Hopefully the ladder's not washed out this time. And hopefully this valley is still there and accessible. This valley has been sold for mining. So every trip I go, I don't know if I would see it. So it's quite special to do that. Depending on the time, we may go see a friend who's a little bit further away and also higher up in the rainforest, but he has a lot of orchids on his property, although it's not orchid season right now, so but there's some that are blooming on it. And then we'll visit like some people down in the valley that are also friends of ours that have property. They can talk a little bit about farming there. And they often gift us a bunch of sugarcane juice, which is super fun because like we haven't had sugar for a while, and then you get this sugarcane juice. It's kind of funny. What else? And we'll do a lot of hiking. Sometimes on the off days, or sometimes on a work day. Sometimes they kind of blend. We will take a hike to the big waterfall. If you've seen a lot of our for sure you've seen pictures of it, it's on our website. But it's actually the first slide on this presentation. Or if you go back a slide, I think it's it. So this is the big waterfall. And as you can see, it's a 4 or 5 hour hike. It's quite tough to get there. But when we do, you can jump in. It's freezing cold. But people enjoy jumping in. And it's good. It's something important to do as well. So expect to do that. There's a smaller waterfall. Maybe we can turn it off now. There's a smaller waterfall that we will also hike to. This is as well more of like enjoyment. Sometimes we'll be working in it as a work day because we'll go and collect camera traps or set camera traps, one of the two. Depending on how adventurous people are, we can also take a hike all the way up to the top, which is in the cloud forest. This is a very difficult hike. It's about a 6 hour hike. No more. It's like an 8 hour hike. And you're going up the mountain all the way up to 2,000 meters. And above 2,000 meters is where the cloud forest starts. So we're in the rainforest, and this is called the cloud forest. This is the most biodiverse biome that we know of on this planet. And it's pure magic. It's like something out of a fairy tale. It's called the cloud forest because it's always in the clouds, more or less. It's completely wet, like trees are just dripping water the whole time. It's foggy because you're in a cloud. The ground is super spongy and often can give way to like huge holes. I mean, no danger, but like, yeah, it does that. And all the plants are small because you're pretty high up, so they get, there's less oxygen, so they become smaller. And it's really like out of a fairy tale. It's amazing. And so if people want to do this, then we can arrange it. It depends on how everyone feels hiking in the rainforest. It's different than hiking here. Here the ground is pretty like bare. It's you don't expect it to move or anything. And okay, it's different. It's spongy and can be more challenging for people. Also, we're at a different altitude. I don't know what the altitude is here in Prague, but we're going to be living at 1,400 meters and hiking up to the 1,600 sometimes, and for the cloud forest it's 2,000. What else will we do? We're going to have the opportunity to, as well, learn of some of the Shuak beliefs and learn of the different plants that they were using. And that's also part of what the Bosque Medicina project is about, is on the property we have over 100 different medicinal plants that are known for various properties, and so we'll learn about some of these as well. Things like Sembre de Drago, which maybe you've bought here, maybe you've used. They use it to like heal wounds and things, as well as drinking it for digestive issues. And it comes from this beautiful tree. And so we'll talk about things like that overall.
Is there going to be opportunity to go to Vilcabamba after, no?
I think so. People want after the trip, yeah.
So if you have some time after, it's really nice to make a trip to it's Upaki. It's the beginning of Andes. Vilcabamba is called really beautiful, gorgeous small town, and our friend from Bosque Medicina lives there. And it's like 8 hours by bus, I guess. 6. And if you will feel like going after the jungle, because it's really humid and it's kind of like it can be intense. If you feel like going somewhere where it's really to just chill and relax for a few weeks, it's really amazing place. And I think our friend from Bosque Medicina will go from the jungle to Vilcabamba, where he lives. So maybe if you're thinking about going somewhere after?
There are a couple of trips that I've discussed with Radim a little bit, and also just in general that are quite nice. I guess it's a good opportunity to talk about it. I think, and Radim, you can correct me if this is wrong, but after the official trip, he wants to go a little bit north, and there's this small Shuar community that we've been to once. It is really deep in the jungle. We were the first foreigners to visit them in 15 years. When we got there, they were super surprised. And like last tourists that came were these Russians, and they brought a submarine.
They were eaten.
Maybe. They weren't tourists, they were Russian scientists, and they came to study one of the lagoons. They call everyone that's a foreigner a tourist. And we'll probably try and spend a night there. It is a day's journey, like a full day journey. You take a bus north, for a couple hours, I forget how long, you take a taxi for half an hour into a deeper part of the jungle, then you take a little bote, which is like a small canoe thing, but really shallow. And you take this bote up the river for another half hour. So, and then you get out, you're in one Shuar community. By then it's probably nightfall. Hopefully you don't have to stay there again, but and from there it's another like 2-hour hike to this other community, which is super deep in the jungle and really remote. And it's quite cool. They have a beautiful lagoon that they're protecting. So a black lagoon, because the water is totally pitch black, you can't see anything in it. And they don't know how deep it gets, which is why the Russians were there. They were scientists and they wanted to find out how deep this went. So they had a submersible, and they couldn't find the bottom. And and there's some other really wild stories about it. This area is supposed to have mythical creatures in it. And so there are two that they talked about. The Russians got scared at it because they saw something on their submersible and said, I don't know what it is, and they left. And they saw two of these mythical creatures that lived in this lagoon. One was this two-headed horned snake. So swimming somewhere down there, they saw this snake that had horns and 2 heads, which is possible, actually. There are horned snakes that exist. You can look them up online. And sometimes in nature, like things are born with 2 heads. So this exists. The other creature, I have no idea what it is, or even could be. It was described as a creature with many tentacles and breasts. I have no idea what it is. I've been trying to figure it out. I was thinking maybe a catfish or something, but there's no bottom, so a catfish would not live there, right? Like catfish like the mud. So they apparently saw this. They're submersible and they promptly left. There are definitely boas that live in the area. Boa constrictor, like these anacondas, these big snakes. And they know this because they find the mummified remains. When an anaconda eats something, it spits up what it's eaten and it's dried out. It has no more liquid because that's what the anaconda is eating. And so there are like these mummified remains, and they find every once in a while around this village, like nearby, mummified remains of like dogs and small animals. And yeah, there are stories of. We'll talk a lot about that when we're out there because some of these stories are quite fun. Like the mythos of, the people out there. These are the legends of the people out there, and some of them are very real, and like boa constrictors, like anacondas. Some of the stories are wild, really wild, but yeah, they don't really live near our part of the jungle. Although I've heard that they are at the big waterfall once. They saw one. Well, not our volunteer group, but our friend Roman says that there was one once, I think. And lower in the valley, near the Shuat village, there was a big storm once. And in this Shuat village, there's a small waterfall that we can hike to. This is where we found that little snake that our friend was holding, right? There was a story that after this really big storm, they found this huge anaconda at the bottom of the waterfall. And I think it fell off the waterfall and died, unfortunately. but it was described as a mother anaconda, like which in the legends there is like massive one, like much bigger than anything that we see. Like if you've seen the old film Anaconda, like this really bad movie, like with this huge snake, something like this. And so there was this massive like anaconda of 20 meters or more. We've seen one unfortunately once on our very first volunteer trip. We saw a dead one as well. It was at a fishing. We went up north. We're probably not going to do this, but we went up north to where there's a border with Peru, and there's a very, very big river, and they do a lot of fishing there. And when we were there, one of the fishermen actually caught an anaconda by mistake, and it was really sad because it's just a beautiful creature. These are really special animals. They're super beautiful, and like these apex predators control the biomes out there. They're really important for it. And they brought it into port, and it had this huge hook. The guys were using hooks like this big to fish because they're getting these really big fish out there. And the anaconda saw like some bait on it and grabbed it. And when it grabbed it, the hook went right through its head, so it was dead. And it was dying. It was really, really sad, but it was beautiful. It was this red, gold-colored giant snake. Like the thing was wrapping like in this room. It would have gone like back and forth 3 times. And it was like this fat around. Beautiful. And it was a juvenile. It wasn't even an adult. So, yeah, it was really cool. In a way, but really, really sad. Really sad. Anyways.
And here a friend is asking for insurance.
What kind of insurance?
If you have some insurance,
Do we offer insurance?
I think that you need some insurance or not.
We don't offer insurance. We cannot guarantee anything.
But you don't have any insurance for your trip.
If you buy traveler's insurance, you mean, or something like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should probably do this. We don't offer it though. That is something that would be covered by an insurance company. But yeah, get yourself traveler's insurance, especially in today's state of affairs, right? Like one of the huge unpredictable things that is new to everyone is COVID, and you definitely don't want to get COVID out there. So get insurance, get something to cover as well. Like if you never had any problems, we've never had any need for anything like that. But yeah, it's not a bad idea, right? Like if you get a broken bone or something, they need to treat you in the hospital, then better to have something to cover it. But hopefully nothing happens. But it's a good idea.
Yeah, is there anyone who's traveling to Krakow in September?
Yes. Wait, no, September.
Yeah, I'm going to be there in September.
Okay. Wait, when is our trip? What trip is it?
It's 23rd of August, no?
Yeah, 23rd of August is September 12th. There's a group going in September of students.
Yeah, from Ecuador.
Yes. Are you one of the students?
No.
Okay. There's a trip there. I forget exactly when. Actually, maybe Radim can tell us. He can unmute himself since we have the volume on the computer. Oh wait, are they just seeing a black screen? Can you stop sharing?
Me?
Yeah, at the top. Sorry. Oh my god, okay, sorry about that. Now you can see this, whatever this is. Radim, someone is coming in September, and maybe you have more details on this?
What was the question, please?
If anyone is traveling in September to join this trip.
Yes, there are 2 girls. I don't know if they are on the meeting right now. Vicky, are you there? No. There are 2 girls which are planning to come 1st of September. And probably 5 people from Mendeleev University will come at the same date, but not confirmed yet. As usual, academics are very slow. And why was this question, please?
Because there's a girl here who asked about it, because she's one of the ones that's going. She's maybe off camera, so yeah.
Maybe I didn't hear, but I'm going 23rd of September with Robert.
You're going the 23rd of September.
August, sorry.
August, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a group going early. It's a good opportunity to talk about this actually. We will try and coordinate like groups so that you can see if there's a group that you want to go with already. So Ravi has taken a group earlier by, I guess on the 23rd. The plan there is to go to the coast, I think, and then to visit Inca Pirca, which is this ancient ruins that is north of Cuenca. It is what was it? It was it's basically pre all the civilizations that you would commonly think about. So it's pre-Aztec, it's pre-Mayan. It's very ancient, it's very cool. And maybe some other things. I forget exactly what else he's going to be doing. I don't know exactly what I'm going yet. I'm really, I need to make my mind about a few things about when I'm going, but I will let people know if it's possible to join me. One thing is flights are a lot cheaper if you go through Frankfurt or if you go through another city other than Prague for some reason. So look into that if you're considering like, yeah, how expensive it might be. I might be flying through Barcelona because I used to live there, so I have friends there and stay in there. Or through Germany probably because it's significantly cheaper. The other trip. So if you're going to be going before and you want to go maybe do something else, because I think Radim is going to try and see some whales. The whales migrate near the coast. If you want to do something else, there are plenty of opportunities to go just enjoy the coast in general. Olon is great. It's a wonderful beach area. It's very chilled out, very cool. People speak English more there because it's a touristy spot. It's also quite safe. You can go south. If you get there before the 19th, you can stay with our friend in Vilcabamba or find arrangements in Vilcabamba and meet him beforehand. You can check out the Andes. You can check out you can just go to Cuenca and stay there and take some day trips. There's some really amazing day trips you can do from Cuenca. So either before or after the trip, it's a super option actually, because you can go back and relax a bit and see. There's a gorgeous waterfall, like really gorgeous waterfall. Better, in some ways different, but it's huge. It's like the size of a mountain. It's a 30-minute bus ride away and then a 4-hour hike. There are, what else is close to there? There's a lot of these cool little like artisanal towns that do different, like if you want more shopping kind of stuff or souvenirs, they do this. Inca Pirca is also a day trip from Cuenca. What else? There's a wonderful area that we went to last time called Paramo. It is a very, very high altitude area. It's a mountainous area. It's beautiful. There are little lakes and rivers and lagoons everywhere. It's very, very high up. It was hard to breathe. Like we got there after having lived already at 1,400 meters, and we got there and we were all having really difficult time breathing, just walking around. There were maybe like some stairs that would have taken like 2 flights of stairs maybe. And we couldn't even get up the whole 2 flights in one go. We were all taking breaks. Like, so, it's beautiful. It's worth it. It's really cold. It's really, really high up. But that's seriously worth it. It's a totally different biome. It's something different than the rainforest. It's something different than the coast. There are the Andes in general that you can go see. I actually haven't done that. Some people have asked before about the Galapagos Islands, because it's quite famous. It is very strict right now to get there because of COVID. They want to make sure COVID doesn't get to the island. So you need extra tests to go to the Galapagos, and it's very expensive to flight, but you're there already. No. So if people are interested in that. That can be also, we can talk to our biologist and see. Well, our biologist and actually our other friend is also a professor. So there are 2 professors that we work with a lot in Ecuador, professors of one of the biggest universities out there. And One is a professor of tourism, and so he always helps us with little arrangements. So if there's something special that you want to go, I can ask him directly and say, okay, what, where do they recommend? Also, like, which hotels and things might they recommend directly. After the trip, if you wanted to as well, you can go down, as Petro was mentioning, you can go down to Guapa and chill out there. It's super cool. I highly, the most fun I've had after one of these trips is going to the coast, after that night. But I've also been to the Guapa.
Nice coast is also if maybe some of you wants to go back from Peru, because by buses it's cheap.
Peru is it open right now?
I don't know.
Peru had a huge problem with the virus.
Okay. Well,
But
knows how it's
anyways,
gonna
go on.
be. But you can go from any kind of bus station from Ecuador to Peru. It's usually one night. You can sleep in the bus, and the coast is also beautiful there. And from there, maybe from Lima coming back or something like that.
Yeah.
If some from the group will, if some of you want some information about these trips from Peru or Colombia, I can. You can be. You can get. I can send the information.
Super. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're in the area, so there's so much to explore.
Yeah.
Latin America's amazing. It's a beautiful continent. Central America as well, of course. Colombia is supposed to be gorgeous. It's somewhere I really want to go. Costa Rica is really one, but it's nice though to find somewhere where you can dry out and warm up again after 3 weeks of the rainforest. I love the rainforest, really. Also, I love when we leave, in a way. Like, I'm very sad because our trip is over, but I like being able to go somewhere and dry out. And so for me, it was amazing to go from the rainforest to the coast. This was perfect. Because, yeah, you just get to chill out, hang out on the beach, and enjoy the warm weather, and relax. Because it's just really wet. But yeah, there's so many cool things to do. So if you're planning trips before or after, I would recommend, we'll try and set up a group now after this for the, like a chat group, so that you can get in touch with other people, or maybe you can talk to each other now, whoever's here in the room. Or there's an email chain, I hope everyone's been getting it, for the current volunteers, at least for the current trip, if you're coming in August. And you can just, state there like, hey, I want to be here an extra week, anyone else here an extra week, or whatever, it might be here an extra month, or whatever you guys are planning. Because it can be quite fun to go together as well, especially after our time together in the rainforest. It's really special what hopefully it will be, as all the other trips have been, and I'm sure it will be. We become very close in a short matter of weeks. It's a special time, so it's fun to travel together longer. Anything else? Okay, cool. This Payusa here, you'll be very intimately acquainted with Payusa on our trip. We make a huge pot of it every morning. We'll also work with some other surprises with Payusa all around there. Help yourself, it's in the back. There are bowls of cherries. Eat a lot of cherries, please. Because there are a lot. And I don't know what I would do with all of them now. They're located around, and enjoy a little bit, chat with each other and see what's going on. You can also come directly. If you have other questions that you don't want to voice in a group, I'm also happy to answer those or talk more about experiences there or participating during the next. Hopefully this has helped sort of calm down any concerns you might have had, answered some of the questions that maybe you already had, and enjoy. So thank you.
Thank you.